have created, then editing those attributes, then also controlling the display mode of the attribute, that is the art display. Then we're going to also look at Batman, like she said. What is Batman? I won't let the cat out of the bag yet until we get to that point. What Batman is. So before we even dive into this stuff, why would you want to create block? What is block? Block are more of productivity tools that aid your work, makes your work easy and fast. I remember last class, I brought out some of those tools that AutoCAD has in its library. So that will help us, or it will kind of help us bypass some things, not creating things that we don't need. We just call them off and use. Like you said, that we can create kitchen in no time because all those things are there, all those tools. Now, those tools that you were bringing are part of AutoCAD's library. All right, they are blocks. So there will be times, definitely, there will always be times where the kind of tools you are looking for, AutoCAD doesn't have it. So you would want to create those things yourself. That is where these blocks come into play. So how can we create our own library of tools that we can use later every time we need them? All right, so we're going to look at how to create these blocks, and after creating the blocks, how to insert them, and then how to write. So that means before you can create a block, you need to have a drawing, right? So let's assume I will just do like 2 examples, do very simple things, and I will now give us classwork, give us what to do. All right. So let me just say that I'll create this and make this a block. So let's just say I want to create this chair, for instance. No, the chair will have this rectangle for that part. Then maybe we're going to have another rectangle at the end, somewhere here, that shows more of the leg. Then we have another rectangle at the back for the backrest. Okay, then this guy, I need to, but before I even mirror that, so I'll just create a circle from here to here for the hand, do the same thing from here to here. So what I'm doing now is I'm creating this stuff that I'm going to convert into blocks in the end. So for this part, I'm going to have another rectangle here, holding this back all the way to this place. I'm doing the same thing, so I actually done this. So I will trim off this guy. Then trim again. I'm going to trim off this, trim off this. Then I will create another line to connect this to the just this stuff, because it won't be floating now. So these guys, I'm going to mirror it and pick from the middle all the way to this place. Okay, so now we have this. I'm going to select all of these guys and mirror again. What? Oh, okay. So, I didn't see it. This mirror from here all the way to this place. Mr. Folabi, by now you're not supposed to be. This is mirror. Sorry, this is mirror. You can see it here. Learn shortcut to Mr. Fo. Learn it too. So we have this, and then maybe this place we are going to do a little bit of fillet. Let me see the radius. for the fillet that I'll be looking at. Let's assume I want to have this. So radius 3 is fine. And then fillet R3. Then M for multiple. So I'm filleting this place to this place. This place to this place. Maybe here to here. So this is where the work is, creating the stuff. That's where the main thing is. But once you're done creating it, to now convert it to block is not a problem. So just do this and set another radius, maybe this 1.5, and for multiple, pick here to here, here to here. I feel this thing is deflected to this side. Can you notice that? Okay, so you just select and move. To the middle, and that works. So let's assume this is our chair, and we're going to put in the chair. Because right now, this chair is still the individual parts. Can you see there are still different parts? If I bring my mouse to any part of this chair, still reads polyline, line, arc, and all that. So for me to convert this chair into an actual block, what I'll do is come over to this block panel. The shortcuts are there, but because then we should not use shortcuts, so I'm just going to use the. So if I come to the block, sorry about this people. There are two, I don't know. So you come to this create. So this create will allow you to create a block. So if I select create, it's going to load this dialog box. Then the first thing you notice that it says block definition and name. What do you want to name this? So I will call this um, I'll just call this classroom chair. All right, so that's the name I want to call this chair. Then the next thing you also notice that if you look down, you have three sections: base points, object, and behavior. We're only going to be looking at base point and object for now. We are not looking at behavior. Okay, so under base point, what does base point mean? You know, anytime you are selecting object or you want to move object, where your mouse is. The same thing anytime you want to insert this block, where you want your cursor to be on the block. Do you understand? So that's what base point is. So I want to pick base point. I need to pick base point on the object. If I don't pick base point on this object, anytime I'm inserting a block, my base point by default is going to be on the origin because the origin is 0, 0, 0, and I don't want that. So, and the issue with this is that you will now try and insert block, you will not see block on your cursor. You'll now be looking like, where is my block? You understand? So that's why it's advisable to always pick a base point around or on that object. So if I come to this base point, pick point, then I'll come to the object where I want my base point to be. I can decide to say maybe this is my base point. Anywhere you choose, doesn't matter. So I'll choose here as my base point. It gives me the coordinates of this base point. All right. As at now, AutoCAD doesn't know what I want to make a block. I've only just picked the base point. So I need to tell AutoCAD that this is the object that I want you to make a block. So I have to do that under my object section. So I need to select object that I want. So I'll click on select object, then I'll select the whole object that I want to be the block. If I press enter, it's going to give a drawing of that object. So now this is what object AutoCAD is seeing. And AutoCAD is also telling me that I have 20 objects selected, all in total. So now that I have selected the block, I have picked a base point. Another thing is for the setting block units. What units do you want this block to be on? Is it going to be millimeter, centimeter, or whatever? So I think I will leave mine in, I'll put mine in centimeter. All right? One is I'll put mine in centimeter because it's a component of furniture. So millimeter is too small. So I'll just use centimeter. Then everything is fine. The next thing what I need to do is I'm going to uncheck this. In your own case, you will not see that check, but because of the last class, I checked that. So I'll leave this unchecked for now. We'll still come back to it. Then all I need to do is just click on OK. If I want to add description to it, I can add description to it. About the chair, any description I can add to it. Then before I click OK, I want you to look at these three options. AutoCAD is saying retain, convert to block, delete. These three options, whatever I choose here will determine what will happen to this object I'm seeing in this scene here. If I say retain and I click OK, it's going to create block out of this object, but will retain the individual parts of this object as they are now. If I say convert to block, it's going to create a block out of it and go ahead to convert it to that block. Do you understand? And if I say delete, it's going to create a block out of it. Remember, notice I'm saying this is going to create a block out of it and delete this guy off my screen. Do you understand? So any of the option you want, fine. No option is best. Depends on what you want to do. So I'm going to do two, since I'm going to examples, I will choose two options here. So let's say the first one I will choose retain, to retain the individual parts. Then the next one I will choose delete. So I'll say retain and I'll click on OK. Then I want to allow exploding. All right. So that if I want to explode it later on, it can explode. So I'll say OK. Then it has created a block out of this guy. But if I bring my mouse close to this, I still have polyline, I still have arc, I still have all the individual parts. All right. So let's create another thing. So let's say this time we want to create, I don't know what to create now. Table. Okay, so let's just assume this is our table. Let's follow the same scale. Okay, let's just say this is our table. Then I'm going to for the leg. Then since we are not seeing the leg, then this one be here. Again, another one. Okay, so that's that movement there. So let's assume this is our table and I want to, so I will go back again, create block. So I click on create block, I'll name the block classroom table 001. Then the next thing I'll do is pick a base point, right? So if I click on pick a base point, anywhere I choose, so let's say I want to choose this place this time as my base point. Click, that gets me the coordinates. I want it to be centimeter. Then I want to pick object. So I'll select pick object. I'm going to pick this object. It's going to have everything selected. I'll press enter. It brings the table here. Then I will now go ahead to delete. So if I choose delete and I click on OK, it's going to create a block out of it and delete it off my screen. See the difference now? So now we have created this guy. I can go ahead and decide to delete this now. It doesn't matter. But I can still get this back. So for us to now bring back what we have created, that will now take us to how to insert. You can either use this shortcut I, or you can go through this icon. So if you come to this icon, you see insert. And if I click on the arrow under insert, these are the two blocks I've created. So any one I choose brings it out. So if I say, okay, bring this table, brings this table out, then I can drop it. You notice that the scale is kind of larger compared to when let me undo, so you see. Undo it till I have this guy. If I bring it now and say insert, it's going to be larger. Do you know why it's larger? Because we chose a scale, insertion unit of centimeter. You know, centimeter is larger than millimeter. So that's why. So that's the thing with this. Then if I come here, I can bring in this table and the table. Can you see where my cursor is on this table? Because that's what I chose. So I can just say this is going to be here. So that is using this icon. But now, there's advantage for using shortcut. You that don't want shortcut, there's advantage. And the advantage is If I use the shortcut the shortcut allows me to, sorry, I for insert. Why is this coming up? Oh, okay, this one is quite different from 2018. This 2022. So normally 2018 will bring the dialog box the way creating block does, but then everything is still here. Look at the advantage you have for inserting a block. So when you want to insert a block, you notice you can choose the block you want to insert from this place. I think, where can I get it for this guy? Have desk, filter. Oh man. Ah, recent, favorites. Okay, so under drawing, current drawing, these are current drawing. So you notice these are the blocks we have already created under current drawing. So this gives us other tabs. I'm understanding this. I'll talk about this later on. So I can choose any of this block that I want to insert. But this is not the advantage it has over using ribbon tab. And this is the advantage. If I choose any of the block that I want, I can come down here and add some options to it. So I can decide to say for this block, oh man, I've double clicked. I can decide to say for this block, I want to change the scale of this block. You notice I'm bringing it using centimeter. I can say, okay, scale this block. Okay, I can say scale this block, uniform scale, and then I can choose a particular scale for the block. I can say, okay, maybe I want to scale this guy to half this size. I can say 0.5. That's one thing. I can rotate this block. So if I don't want it to come horizontal, I want it to go vertical, I can say rotate it at 90 degrees. Okay, so once I'm done and I press enter, oh man. Okay, so just click on this, you notice it comes up. So it scales this and also rotates it. All right, the interface is quite different. So any object you click will take this setting. So if I say the next one I want to bring in, I want to scale it to 0.25, so I can just say 0.25, and then I can say, okay, for the rotation, I want it to go at 45 degrees. Then any object I click now will take that setting. Do you understand? So that's the advantage this one has over bringing, because really, when you create your block, any drawing you are bringing it to may have different scale. If you now start bringing it may appear too small or too large. So which is why this option is there for us to scale on inserting it. But that doesn't mean if you insert it, you can't use your normal scale command. Just you can still use your normal scale command, but I should be able to do it before bringing it into the scene. So that's why the shortcut is important. Now, that's how to insert a block, the two options. But now the thing with inserting block now is that if I decide to, or the thing with creating block is that if I decide to open a new drawing, okay, I'm opening a new drawing and I want to insert that same block into this drawing. You notice I don't, okay, this drawing is coming from template. Let me create a new drawing from scratch that doesn't have anything. So I'll just go to new and make it metric, just empty drawing. You notice if I come to my insert, there's nothing for me to insert. Do you notice that? If I go back to my drawing 1, I have things to insert. But if I go to drawing 3, which is a new blank drawing, I don't have anything. So what does that say? It says that whatever block you create is only meant for that drawing. If you do creating a block, it's only meant for that particular drawing. As soon as you go to a different drawing, it refreshes, you don't have that block. Do you understand? So how can we do it in such a way that if I create a block, I should be able to even shut down, not even go to a new drawing now. I should be able to shut down my system, come back later tomorrow, and still reuse that block. Am I making any sense? So how can I do that? So writing a block will allow us to do that. It helps us to do that. So what writing a block will do is that instead of this saving, so what, okay, the difference between writing a block and creating a block is that when you create a block, the block is created for the drawings library. Do you understand? For the drawings memory. So as soon as you go to a different drawing, the memory is refreshed. So you don't have any drawing, you don't have anything. So it's only meant for that drawing. So what writing a block will do is that it's going to take it a step further from just putting it into that drawings memory into creating it and saving it into your own systems hard disk. Do you understand? You are busy. You are just looking at me like, I know. I just like, just stop. Talk and let us live. Like, as you know, no, no. It shows that you are not following, even though you are doing like this. But do we understand? So writing will allow us create this block and save it in our systems like this. So that it that's what I do. So that you don't usually do that. So that anytime you need it, you can always bring it from your systems like this. You understand? So let me give you an illustration. I created a folder which I always save my AutoCAD library. So you have to create on your system. So you can see my AutoCAD library. If I open it, I have so many things I've created as blocks in this library. So anytime I need these things, I can always bring them, even up to going to my MEP symbols. I've created libraries for my MEP symbols. I've created libraries for other things that I can use. If you see them, you have rounded, you have NOT, you have NPN transistor, you have modem switch, chair washer, machine washer, all those things. I've created a lot of things. Ceiling lights. We created this with one of our class, in one of my class. Created these lights. And so I can bring them back. John, I've actually created this text before. All right. So that's what writing will do, to allow you to write it and save it in the folder on your system so that anytime you need it, you can always bring it out. Hmm? If you are connected, you can save it online. Yes. That's where the signing is. I talked about this now in the first class. So Autodesk is free actually. You have to have an Autodesk account. And they will give you free space. I think it's I'm not sure, I can't remember again. Maybe it's 10 gig space or 15 gig space for you to work and save your file. Do you understand? So, but it's free. You don't pay for it. So how do we do that? And the thing with writing a block is that there's no icon for it. So I'm sorry to boast of you have to know the shortcut. I don't know, but for as long as I've been using AutoCAD, I've not found the icon for writing a block. So you need to know the shortcut. Blocks. That's what I just explained. Saving it in your systems hard disk is quite different from creating block. So for me to write block, if you notice on that block, if you come down, you don't see anything to write. This is not writing block. This set base point. All these ones are attributes. You can see. Then this is still attributes. You see edit attribute. There's nothing like write block. Do you understand? There is insert, there's create, but there's not even if we come here, there's no dialog launcher that will take us to any setting. So you need to know the shortcuts. All right. So and I said the shortcut is W. Some people use WB, but anyone works. WB still works. So if I type W and press enter, it's going to load this write block dialog box. Then it tells me what do I want to do? Do I want to write block from, okay, so right now this is a new drawing, so I want to do it in this drawing because this is where we created the block. Okay, so if I hit W and press enter, it tells me the source that I want to get the block from. Maybe I want to get it from an object or from the entire drawing. So if I say entire drawing, that means everything I have in this drawing is going to convert it into block. Then object is just like the normal create block option. You know, the normal create, you have to go through the process of picking a base point, selecting objects. Do you understand all those things that we did? But since we have done this, so I don't actually need to go through this guy. I'll just choose block. We've already created the block. So I'll just say block. You notice once I choose block, all these things grayed out, meaning I don't need to do, because for you to have created block, you would have done all these things. Then I can now, so choosing this block will open this drop down. I can now choose which of the block that I want to. So I have the classroom chair O1 and I have the classroom table O1. So let's say classroom chair O1, then you have your file location, file path where you want to save it. I've already created a library and AutoCAD remembers that. In your own case, you have to go and navigate by clicking on this button to choose the location. All right. So I have the location and the name is already there. Then I'll just save. So you can see the unit again, centimeter. I'll just say, okay, that has been written. I'll do the same thing for the table W and go to this, go to the table. Everything is fine. Okay, that is there. So now that I have that done, in this new drawing, okay, I wanted to close this guy. So in this new drawing now, you notice if you come here, there's no block. But even though we've written that and we've closed that drawing, I can actually go to inserting a block using the dialog, using the command, or I can say recent favorite block from library. So I have created my own library. So what I want to do is I want to choose the block from library. So if I say block from library, it's going to bring me into this place and navigate to my library. Then under my library, I can now navigate and look for that block. So I can say browse block library. If I go to browse, it's going to take me to this place. Then I can navigate and search for that my AutoCAD library. Then I can choose that block. So classroom, where is it? So this is a classroom table, O1 and classroom chair. This was the other one we did. So I want to bring in a classroom chair. So I'll go to classroom chair, open, and that comes up here. Do you notice that? So that comes up here. So if you come to your recent now, or I think current drawing, it should be here. Library. So how do we now insert? So let's see, because this is quite different display. Display file. This version is something else. So let's say if I make this 1, 0, okay, so it brings it here. So I can select it and insert. So let me go through the process again for the other table. So I'll just come and click, browse block, then I can choose the table. Okay, and this I think is trying to load the table, so I don't know why. So let me click outside first and see what happens. Current. So I will click, press enter. Nothing is happening. I can't even remember how that came up. Okay, I should put a scale. I think it's trying to load. So, what? Okay, I think that's why it's still loading it. I wasn't reading it. So we have to wait for it to load. Once it's loaded, we'll see there, then we can insert. So that's how to bring in stuff that you have saved in your system. Do you understand? So once this thing is loaded, it should come up. I wasn't reading this. So do we have any questions so far on your own? So it has loaded. So I can just pick what I want and drop it. Okay. So you have that. Do you have any question about this before we go to attributes? Ask now because me I'll ask you. Do you have any question? Okay. Okay. Yeah. That's though they are just options. That is saying. So if you say object now, then you now have to go through that process that we went through when creating the block. Meaning you have to pick a base point, select objects. You remember all these steps. That's just what it means. Then give it a name and click OK. Do you understand? But because we've already created the block, that's why I chose block. Then I now chose the name. Do you understand? So if you notice, picking block grays this away, grays it out, meaning AutoCAD knows that if you have created block before, you have gone through this stuff. So there's no point going back and picking base points, selecting object and all. So that's, I don't know why this thing is showing this one. No, because I clicked this guy. It's the same thing as clicking this browse. Okay, so since we don't have any question, I will go to the next thing. Then the next thing we have is block attributes. Block attributes. What are block attributes? They are attributes you have that they are like properties that a block will have. Remember in two palettes, when we're inserting blocks from two palettes, we got to electrical. And when we inserted the electrical components, it brought out one dialog box that talked about block attributes, where you have attributes to that block. So it was because those electrical components were created using attributed block. They added attribute to it. So that's why anytime you're inserting, you notice these blocks now that I created, inserting this didn't bring anything. We just inserted and that was it. So we can actually create a block such that anytime you insert it, it should bring up a dialog box and tell us to fill in some setting. Do you understand? So what I'll do now is I'll still go back and make this guy a block and add attribute to it so that anytime I'm inserting it, it should bring up those dialog boxes. So some of the information I'm going to add to this guy is, before we start talking about block attributes, I want to add manufacturer information on this guy. Do you understand? So anytime I'm starting it, I want to have a field that will allow me to put manufacturer information to it. Yeah, who is the manufacturer? Then another thing I can also add to this, since it's chair, what do you think we can also add as attributes? Hmm? Hmm? You are going to be giving us this information. Strength of the wood, the materials used, all those things, those are attributes. Then maybe we can also add component number, so or instance number. So what I mean by instance number is possible we'll be bringing more of them. So when we are bringing the first one, maybe we'll name that one number one, number two, number three, number four. Do you understand? So we'll just look at that. Then also we want to have a name, a tag name on it. Do you understand? So those things are the attributes we're going to add. So how we add attributes to this object is we can either use any of this option, command, or ribbon tab. So if you want to add attributes, You click on this drop down, then you come down, you are going to see define attributes. So at def is the define attribute. That means it's allowing us to define an attribute to an object. So it's the same thing as adding attribute to an object. So I want to add attributes now to this object. I'll just click on this define attribute. As soon as I click on define attribute, this comes up and it gives us this information that looks so, but it's nothing, it's very simple. So looking at the mode, let's explain the mode first before we go to the next one and talk about. So the mode is telling you what you want this attribute to look like. What kind of feature do you want it to hold? So example of a mode is you want it to be visible. So that means I want to have an attribute on this object, but this attribute that doesn't change the fact that it's still an attribute. I don't want it to be seen by anybody. So there will be some attribute that you can have some object that you don't want it to see. But you want to have anytime you are facing the results to get it. In the graphics, you don't want to see the attribute. That's what this invisible means. So if I check that invisible, that means the attribute will be added, but it will be in the graphics. Then we also have a constant. So constant means the attribute is just constant. It's something that doesn't change for every instance of creating it. So example of that is maybe tag. So let's assume our tag view is partition or shape. You don't know. Okay, for instance, now this door, flush door. You know, flush door will have different sizes. You can have 600 size, you have 700, 900. No, it doesn't change the fact that it's still flush door. Then you have another door with a glass door. And you can have different sizes of that glass door. It doesn't change the fact that the glass door is still glass door. You understand? So in that case, flush is a constant attribute for every instance of which you are making. Am I making any sense? So the same way, if you make an attribute constant, if you are inserting for every instance, it won't allow you to change the name because you see that it's a constant object. Or a constant attribute. You understand? Then the next one is verify. I don't use it. I don't know what it is. Reset. I don't use it. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'll go and check it. Then lock position will always lock the position of that attribute to a particular location. So you won't be able to go into a different location. So if I'm adding this attribute, for instance, at this spot, the location will be fixed. It's not moving. Always be there for every instance I'm moving. You understand? So then the next thing you also have multiple lines, like it says. You want to have an attribute that has multiple lines. Then coming down to attribute itself. So this attribute itself is what will now these things that will now start putting and information is given about factor. So let me explain to us what we have. So we have a tag, prompt, and default. So this default is more of a value. We have the prompt, the tag, the prompt, and the value. So for this tag, the tag is okay. Let me just use this to explain what. Let me close this and bring my two palettes and go to the electrical just to use it to explain to you. Just bring one stuff out. So you have this. This is an example of a fixed attribute. You always have palette lights in prayer. It doesn't change. If I bring another palette light in prayer, this will always be there. It doesn't allow me to change this. But for these other ones, because I can put in value in this field, they are not constant. Do you understand? Another thing is, you notice I said we have the tag, the prompt, and the value, which is the default. The value is what you put inside this place. Am I making any sense? The value is what you put inside this place. You notice for this guy now, when we inserted this, there's a default value inside this place, which is 1, 2. So that default, whatever you put inside that default is what will always show here, except you now go and change it. Then this one, I always mix them, whether they're the tag or they are the prompt. Now, Once we get there, we're going to know which one is one. Because I know that one of them doesn't allow space. So I don't know whether it's the tag or it's the prompt that doesn't allow space. So let's just look at it. So if I close this and I go back to attribute definition, so let's say the first thing we want to do is we want to add the, what's it called? We want to add the name, chair, for instance. So maybe classroom chair. So for the classroom chair, I said we want it to be constant, right? That's the first thing. So click on constant. You notice prompt goes away. So now I've gotten the difference between the tag and the prompt. So now this prompt is the one that doesn't have space. It's owned by AutoCAD. It's the same inside AutoCAD's line. But the tag is the one you place. That means that you have. So let me just come in. So here, for the tag, we are going to have, since it's going to be constant, so this is going to be type. So this will be okay, so we have this object type, classroom chair. All right. So now the next thing is we have our text setting. So what do you want to do to this text? What kind of justification do you want to have for it? Is it going to be center? Is it going to be left aligned, right aligned, center, all these things? So you can set all these things. So because I want it to be at the middle, I'll just say middle center. So it's going to be at the middle center. Then the next thing is what standard do you want to use? So what font style? So let's just go with Tahoma. And if I have height, I can also choose a height. So because I've not done this, I have to go back to be sure of the height I'm using. So if I say from here to here, in your own case, we can just go with that. So I'll go with 15 in this case, 15. So I'll come back, I'll make it constant, and I'll come here. What did I put here? Object type, classroom chair. So this is going to be middle center. Anyone, I can actually go with the standard. So I said this is going to be 15. Then the rotation, I want it to go horizontal. So that's fine. Then once I'm done with all these things, I'll just click on OK. But then you can always click here also to specify the height of text attribute by entering a value or it's saying or by choosing height of specified height. We've already specified height here. So just click on OK. Once we click on OK, okay, so this is it. So the tag doesn't have the space. So the tag is what is owned by AutoCAD. The prompt is the one that comes by the side when you are doing it. So that means for this tag now, what we're going to do is we are going to, instead of having a space, I can just put underscore dash. Then once I have that, I'll just click OK. Then it tells me to place this object where I want it to be. Don't mind where it is now. As soon as I place it, it's going to choose the justification of chosen. Just put it here. So that is that object type. Now, saying object type, don't worry. Why is saying object type now is because you are still in creation mode. By the time we finish it and make it a block, when you're starting it, you won't see object type. You'll be seeing the name of the chair, classroom chair. So let's bring in another attribute. Like I said, we're going to bring in a lot of attributes. So for this other attribute, I don't want it to be constant. I want it to be something we can change. Right? Then another thing is for this attribute, manufacturer information is what I want to put. I don't need people to see the manufacturer information. But I want it to have that attribute. But I don't need it to be seen. So that means I'm going to make it invisible. Right? Then I can come to the tag. So this is going to be manufacturer underscore info. Okay, what? Then under the prompt, so the prompt is the one that will be showing anytime we're inserting it so that we can put in manufacturer information. So I can just put manufacturer, then put a space, information. Then for the default now is what default value do you want to show for the manufacturer information. So maybe I'll say Esther and so they always say and sons, abi? Esther and daughters. Do you understand? So that's the default that we should, but we can always change because we said it's not constant, so we can always change that. Then we can also choose, so this one, we want this to also be middle center. Then I don't want it to be this large, so maybe we'll make it 7. Then we'll go with this same orientation. Then I'll say, okay, click on, that's just it. Where do you want to place it? We want to place it somewhere here, manufacturing information, somewhere here. So let's just trace up a little bit. That's what the manufacturing information will be. But it's not going to be visible, mind you. Okay, so we want to add a part number or an instance number somewhere here. Okay, so we'll go back to attribute definition, define attribute. So for this instance number, we want it to be visible. Anytime we start, we want it to be visible. Then we don't want it to be constant, we want to be changed. So this is going to be instance. So here we'll just call this, maybe this is going to be mark number or mark. And then we can just put XX there. Okay. Let me let's use this. We have this. So we want to be consistent with all this, and we'll just copy this, paste, then here we just put an underscore. Okay. Then for the production number, we want it to be really large here. And if this is 15, so let's make this again middle center. And this should be, let's just say 25. It's going to be really large. I'll click on OK. So it's saying where do you want to place this? We place it somewhere here. And that production number is there. You get it? Should we add more or should we just stop here? But you understand the whole thing. Okay, so let's assume that's everything we want to add. So okay, let's add one more so that we have like 2 more fields to change. We just come here and make this everything like this. Then for this one, we can say this is going to be tag name underscore name, and come here. Okay. That means you have to change this also to material. Okay, so for the material, I want to leave it empty. I don't want anything there. So, but we can still put anything. The default, I want it to be empty. So I'll come here and material. Is it going to be, should it be visible? Should it be something that is visible? I don't think it should. So that means I'm going to make it invisible, but we should be able to change it. That's fine then. And whatever I put here doesn't really matter. So I'll just say 10, click OK, put the material somewhere here. And that's it. So now we have created this, but then we are not seeing anything. What we have done is to add a material, add an attribute. So the thing is, let me just say this. When you are creating a block, the first thing you actually need to do is put another before you have to make it. I've created the shape. After creating the shape, you should have added that to those shapes before making them. Now, going through the process of creating a block first, if I'm not talking about that, or there's no, I can always do creating. So now we've added attribute to this object where it's going to be. All these things are there. And let's assume this guy is still a shape. I'm not making it. Then we have to now go through the process of creating a block. So I can just, so I'll just be fast with this. I'll click here, call this classroom, look at my spelling, chair 01. Then I'll pick a base point. So this is going to be my base point. And I'll pick objects. I'll select everything, press enter, everything included the attribute comes. And then I want to delete it. And let's leave it at millimeter. So we just click on OK. And that's that. We've created the block. So then if I come here to insert that block now, you notice we now have two blocks. The one without attribute and the one with attribute. So if I bring the one without attribute and replace it, this is centimeter, right? If I come here and bring the one with attributes and click, this comes up. And it's now telling you, notice the block name is this, then the manufacturer information I can change. For the material, I can change. For the production number, I can change. So production number is 01. That's going to be at the middle here. The material, maybe this is going to be mahogany. We have that. Then for the manufacturer information, I can put anything. So you have that. All those things are attributes to this object. If I click on OK now, you notice classroom chair is there and the part number is there. So if I want to bring in another chair, as you come, look at each of all these things now. So if I click here again, the next one, I want to pick the next one, place the next one. So this is going to be my 02, right? If that's my 01, this is going to be my 02. So this is also going to be organic. So let's say this one we are buying it from Esther. Let's patronize her. So just click OK. And you see this 01, 02. Do you understand? So that's how you add attributes to your blocks. So after adding attributes, there will be need for you to edit those attributes. Because really, it's possible you have done this and you now feel that, okay, I've added this attribute, I want to edit the attribute I've added. Okay. So how can I edit it? So in the case of this that I made mahogany, if I feel that, okay, I want it to be oak wood, you understand? How do I edit it? So there is this edit attribute that you have here. So we have single edit, multiple edit. So we just go to the single edit. Or you can use the shortcut, at edit. Okay? So this is block edits. So if I come to this, any of the edits, so it's going to tell me to select the block that I want to edit, the attributes. I'll just select this block. Then it brings up this dialog. Then I can now start editing the attribute that I want. So you notice these are the attributes we have here. The material, the production number, the manufacturer information. Then I can say, okay, for this guy, I don't want this to be mahogany. I'll just select the one I want to change, come to the value, change it to anything I want. Do you understand? So if I press enter, if I apply that now, that changes it. Then I can even come all the way to the text option to change this. So if I feel that, okay, like this text now, the size is too small, I can select this and go to the text option. For the height, I can say maybe I want it to be 75. Do you understand? I can apply. It's going to make it larger. So I'm editing the attribute I've created. And mind you, it's only having effect on this. So when you use edit attribute, it's only affecting the object that you select. Okay, so I can come to property, change it to whatever layer I want, the line type, all these guys. So I'll just click OK, and that's it. And I can also use the shortcut, ATT edit. Then it tells me to select block reference that I want to edit. The same way I'll select this block reference, and the same thing comes up. So you notice that a different thing comes up now compared to using the ribbon tab. But this is just straightforward. I can just come in and change this back to. So this type of attribute edit is just to edit the attribute, but doesn't allow you to go into the structure to change, do you understand? To change the, what's it called? The font, the text option. It just allows you to change attribute from here. Like the attribute you're having there, I can say maybe instead of this, I can make it 03. Do you understand? That's just what the shortcut does. But now your ribbon tab, like you like it, it allows us to do this one, and at the same time, still go into the text option to change this. Do you understand? All back. Then the next one is attribute display. So attribute display can be gotten here. I think is not that. Okay, so this retain attribute display. So for the attribute display, we have three modes. So if you click on this drop down, you can retain attribute display, you can display all attributes, you can hide all attributes. All right. So you notice that there are some attributes that are hidden when we created it. Remember. So we can decide to say we want to show all attributes, display all attributes. Right. If we click on display all attributes, all hidden attributes will be displayed, including those ones we hid. And we can also decide to say, okay, we want to hide all attributes. So if we say hide all attributes, even those two guys will be hidden. Everything will be. But it's not that they are deleted, they are just hidden. So they are just. Then I can also go back to the attribute, retain attribute display. So retain attribute display is the default. Those that are supposed to be hidden, hide them. Those that are supposed to be visible, bring them. So that's what this does. Then you can use the shortcut ATTDISP. Then you notice you have normal on off. It's the same thing as what we've looked at. Normal means those are supposed to be hidden, hidden. Those are supposed to be visible. Let's see them. On means bring everything visible, make everything visible. Off means make everything invisible. So if you say off, you notice what we have. If you say on, you notice. And if you say normal, you understand. So then we now have this last one, Batman. I know that's what Esther is waiting for, Batman. So Batman is an acronym for Block Attribute Manager. So that Block Attribute Manager allows us to do a whole lot of things to change the whole structure of the block. So when we say we are changing the whole structure of the block, whatever change we make to a particular field or a particular attribute will have effect globally, unlike edit attribute that we did. You know, edit attribute only affects that object you select. But if you use Batman, it's going to have a global effect on all the instances you've added. So if I've inserted like 20 instances of it and I've changed the attribute, if I do this using Batman, it's going to affect everything. So I don't have to be doing it one by one. So, and this is it here. This is the icon for it. This guy, no, sorry, this one, block attribute manager. And if you look down there, you see Batman. I think it's double T, not one T. Yes, double T. All right, so if I click on Batman, it tells me to choose a name, but I think the shortcut is better because now I have to be clicking here and picking a name, selecting all these things. So let me just go to, I always use one till, and this comes up. So it's still the same thing it brought out, one till, still the same thing. But the thing is, AutoCAD AutoCAD has this feature, autocorrect. So anytime you run a command is not correct, it looks for the closest command to it and present that. So notice I have one T here and it's showing me the closest one. It's highlighting the closest one, double T. So if I press enter on it, it runs it. That's because of the feature of autocorrect, and that is here. So if you click here, let me close this. If you click on this place, sorry, if I click on this gear icon and I say input, I have autocomplete, autocorrect, all these things are there. So that's why it's correcting them for me. Then you also have autocomplete. So what the autocomplete does is that if I writing a command and you don't finish it, it's going to complete it for you. So if this is off, autocomplete is on, and I say li, it didn't finish for me. If I say lin, it's meant to finish its line. Do you understand? But if I bring this autocomplete on and I say lin, it's going to finish line. Do you understand? So let's go back to this, by the way. So here we have this. So now for this Batman, it's going to show me all the blocks that I have in this drawing. Then we can manipulate, or we can change things based on a particular block. Right now, the block is highlighting is U4. And these are the attributes that U4 has. Right? Remember when you started one block? So what we need to do first is to go and choose the block we want to change. So we want to change this classroom 01. That's what we want to change. Then it gives us all the attributes for that classroom 01. You can see. So we can go to any of the attributes and change. So let's assume we want to change this attribute that has this 0, this number. So we'll go to the production number. So once we go to the production number, we have option to edit it. All right. So if I say edit, I just want you to look at both of them. I'll say edit. This comes up. So what I want to do is I want to come under my text option. I want to change this to 75. Okay. If I click OK, notice it affects both of them because this is working globally. So I can also go and edit and also go back to my attributes. I can decide to say, okay, maybe I want it to be invisible. Do you understand? So if I don't want it to be visible, I can decide to say I want. Notice what I'm still working on is this same guy. So I can say make it invisible, it goes away. Do you understand? So if I don't want that production number to show, later after I've created it to show, to be visible, I can always go back and make it invisible. So the only thing that you will not see is the object that you made invisible. I think, okay, so this object type, so it's actually here. So if you go to this object type that if I go to edit, no, sorry about that. So actually it allows you to change everything to anything you want. So if I come to this manufacturer information, I can go back to the manufacturer information, edit it, I can say I want it to be visible all the time. And that affects everything. You can see we have two manufacturers, bedmate here and Esther and daughter. So that is for the Batman. You can always go back, change anything. Then if I want to go to another block, so if I have other blocks here, I can go to the other block that I want to work on, go to the attributes and change the attribute. So once I'm done, I'll just apply and OK, and that's it. So if I have like 20 or 100 instances of this, whatever change I do in that Batman would have affected everything. So I don't have to be doing them on click. Do you understand? Do you have any question? Today's class is short, but we're going to do a lot of classwork. That's the end of this. So I'll give us a classwork now, and that classwork, depending on when we are done, to know what to do next, whether to go into isometry or to go to the next one, which is block dynamic block. But I actually want to talk about dynamic block on Friday because we have a lot to do on that dynamic block. If I have to continue now from here, we will finish dynamic block. And I want it to be something we will do in a day. So there's so much on that dynamic block to look at. So let me stop.